game gone wrong? Or maybe it's going right. I don't know. But we are here today to talk about episode 3 of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the Game of Thrones spin off series that Tunny, DJ, and I have been covering. First off, before we get into anything, DJ, brother, welcome back to the show. How was your time at sea? I've heard a little bit about it, but go ahead, let us know, man. How was the cruise? And you and I were talking off air about some of the cool stuff going on, man. But how was everything?
Absolutely incredible, man. It was 6 total days at sea. It was a cruise called Shipwrecked. They chartered it through Carnival Cruise Lines. It was 6 days at sea. Probably 20 different bands played. We caught probably actually maybe more than that. Now that I think about it, we probably caught 15 to 20 of them. Bands like Hailstorm, Avatar. I was telling you, Suicidal Tendencies played. Motionless in White. There's just a ton of acts that played. Really, really good time. We did several meet and greets. A lot of the band members were just kind of walking because they're on vacation too. So we saw some of the band members walking around. One cool thing that they did, they had a band called the Stowaways, and basically what it was almost like a house band, but they had a rotating group of lead singers and guitarists and drummers and musicians from like established bands that came in and rotated out on this set, and they played all cover songs. That was pretty cool. If you're familiar with the band, we had a brief Wolf Mother reunion
Wow.
during that thing, which was incredibly cool. Probably the highlight of the whole weekend, and I want to put these guys over because they were super cool. There was a band from New Zealand called Shepherd's Rain, and we literally just found their music within the last month, and we wanted to listen to them. They were playing on one of the islands, and I ran into those guys on the second day of the cruise. I went to the gym, and those guys were in the gym, ran into them, worked out with them, and talked with them for a little bit. And then we went the next day to their meet and greet, and they remembered me. Like, they were drunk as shit. Like, we're up and we're like doing the meet and greet, saying hi, hey guys, how you doing, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. And all of a sudden, the one
DJ,
guy,
listen, I'm sure either way they would have remembered you because you have an amazing, awesome personality that we've grown to love over these past couple years. But
I,
I would imagine the beard had something to do with it.
the beard probably had something to do with, but and that you talk about that. When I was in the gym, I was doing my workout, and I was kind of, because my hands are arthritic, so I was kind of messing with my hands a little bit. And this one kid, to set the stage, they're from New Zealand. They're Samoan, so they've got the big haku hair. And I was talking with one of the guys, and I was like, he asked me if I played. I was like, I play a little bit of bass. We got to talk about music, and he was like, so I'm like, all right. So obviously you guys are with the band. Which band are you guys with? I hate to sound ignorant, but I don't know. And he's like, well, we're Shepherd's Rain. I was like, I thought so. And he's like, yeah, the hair might have been a bit of a giveaway. So I was like, yeah, but I was like, I didn't want to assume, but super, super cool dudes. And when I met him at the meet and greet, it took them a minute because they were all had been drinking a little bit. And all of a sudden, the one guy, I think he's the guitarist, he looks at me and goes, Jim Bro. And he remembered me from the gym. So just like you said, super
Nice.
cool dudes, wanted to put them over. The whole experience was incredible. Just, it really was. I could sit here and I'm going to do an episode of 30 Mindless Minutes with my girlfriend. We're going to talk about it a bit more in depth. May end up being a two-parter because over 6 days there was a lot going on. So there's
Yeah.
going to be a lot more of that. But yeah, man, I such a good time. Really good.
Yeah, you've told me one of my favorite bands really kind of stole the show a little bit for you, and that was Suicidal Tendencies. Were there, and and I know you're not a huge fan of them, but
Right?
they tore the ship down
They
basically.
were excellent live. Like I said, I've never seen them live. Never a band that I was really, really into, but I won't say a bad word because they were awesome live.
Man, I wish I could have seen that. Just the thought of a music festival at sea. That's not, the Chris Jericho cruise and that sort of thing, but Fozzy and a bunch of other people. But I mean, a full on true music festival at sea, man. That's awesome.
It was
So
badass.
What did I say?
Speaking of music festivals, this is the logo for the world's largest music festival here in
Summerfest.
Milwaukee, Summerfest. So, I don't know,
We looked
2027
at
maybe?
that lineup last
I,
year. What
oh,
a
DJ,
fucking incredible lineup. Holy
it's
shit.
it's like that every year.
Yeah, I was like fucking
And
Def Leppard and just a ton of fucking
so
people were there. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is like 90% of the bands that they book are free.
Yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
Just
cool.
get your ticket to get
That's
in.
excellent.
Yeah, I mean, they
Guys
got
are-
that. They got
Guys are invited. Put it
Coachella.
on the calendar one year.
You know, we got Coachella out here. We've got, what is it, Aftershock up in Sacramento. That's got a really damn good festival. You got Rockview coming up, DJ, and your
Yeah, Rockville's coming up in May.
Yeah, Rockville. So I mean, yeah, there's no shortage of that was one of the biggest things missing during the pandemic was all that stuff. But you know what? People have tuned in. They don't want to hear about DJ's drunken cruise, or maybe they do. I mean, yeah, I kind of want to hear
Tune
about
in.
it. It is
Tune in to 30 mindless minutes.
30 mindless minutes, and you will hear all about DJ.
Wonderful show. We got to re-record our episode too, DJ.
Yeah.
We do. We got to get on that, Tony.
How do you groom your beard at sea when you're drunk? I think that's a really good topic.
You just let it fly, man.
Counterclockwise.
Counterclockwise. Okay.
Yeah.
That works. All right. So we are here tonight, of course, to talk about episode 3 of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. We are officially at the halfway point of this first season of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. This episode was called The Squire. And, gentlemen, I think the frivolity is now officially behind us to a great extent. We have now gone from, this is kind of fun, to, okay, this just got serious very quickly. And this episode is the turning point of season 1. Tunney's looking at me kind of skeptically, or what?
No. I like they should just full on change the theme of the show to the Game of Thrones theme now. I completely agree. Like we were talking about how it was so different the first 2 episodes, right? And it was, but the way this ends, you're like,
that's
my Game of Thrones.
A Game of Thrones show now. Like
right.
we're off to the races here.
Yeah.
Right.
It's I'm so hooked. I've been hooked. We've been hooked. We've been talking about that.
Yeah, and 80% of this episode sticks to the formula. It's just the last 20% where things ratchet up considerably. And there's a lot of stuff going on here, but this, I agree with you guys completely. This is where the series takes a definite sharp turn into, oh, this is Westeros, and here comes the bad stuff, or the more involved things, politics, pricks, and all this other stuff. And there is no bigger prick than Prince Arion, as we will get into. But let's talk about some of the highlights from this episode. We got Dunk and Egg kind of really settling into their own rhythm here in this episode. And it starts off with Egg taking Dunk's horse and really working at training the horse, getting the horse ready for this tournament. And, at the same time, you've got these guys bonding over this. Dunk is kind of, you can tell that Dunk is warming up to Egg. He's showing him stuff like how to do some things like sewing and patching, which, of course, as we're about to find out from Egg's lineage, he probably doesn't do a whole lot of that. We also learn that, or Dunk finds out from Egg that he's not jousting, at least not quite yet. So he's geared up. I mean, he's ready. Dunk is ready to go at the beginning of this episode. The nerves are flying. He's nauseous. He's obviously stressed and all that sort of stuff. And Egg kind of lets him down and breaks the news to him that, hey, the lesser known knights, they don't get to challenge anybody first off. So you're not going to go on this day. So just calm yourself down, take a deep breath, exhale, and enjoy yourself. And okay, and that's cool. And so Dunk kind of settles down into this whole thing, and we go into this. And it gives them time for I think, and I watched the post credit stuff, the recap of the episode, and yeah, the breakfast sandwich that Dunk and Egg share is a really cool bonding moment for them, where it's this the goose egg, because a goose egg, I guess, is the equivalent to like 4 or 5 regular eggs or something like that, and they get some bread, and Dunk makes this really cool breakfast sandwich, and it's just and it's really awesome to see those two just kind of gelling and bonding, and there is this, I don't know if I'd say father-son dynamic, but certainly like brothers and that sort of thing. And I really enjoyed watching that whole thing going on. So go ahead, guys. I'm going to check the chat. We got something going on here, but
that was just me encouraging people to talk with us.
Yeah, jump in.
Comment or question. I'd say let's kick it over to DJ Dave and let him kind of, hey, what did you think of episode 2?
I enjoyed episode 2.
True.
Again,
Yeah.
I didn't get to sit down with you guys because I was floating around the Atlantic. And no,
Drinking.
episode 2 was really good. It
drinking,
kind of
partying, floating
drinking
around.
and partying.
Yes, I will. Yes, drink. I will. Okay, thank you.
I'm still wringing my liver out from last week.
That's all right.
Bad liver. Punish that bad liver.
Make it
Suit
your
up,
bitch,
liver.
DJ. Make it your bitch.
No, it really good. It's furthering the story with Egg and everything. I like how the episode kind of explained, and I don't remember the old man's name, but Dunk's knight ahead of him, the guy that he took his
Arlen
sword and
of
everything.
Pennytree.
Pennytree, there you go. Kind of explains his story a little bit more as Dunk is still going around trying to convince somebody, hey, look, I was knighted. Can somebody sponsor me? Enjoyed that episode a lot. It kind of furthered things along. Again, still had
Arlen, the baby's arm holding an apple
oh my God.
from
Yeah,
Pennytree.
Dave spoke about Arion being the biggest prick in the show. Buddy,
No.
the biggest prick of the
I
show
don't
came
know.
out in the first
Literally, I wasn't talking about literally the biggest prick in the show. Yes.
All, you
Jesus
know,
Christ.
Wow.
none of the knights wanted to say they remembered Arlen, but I'll bet you dollars to donuts. Every
Some of
woman
me.
has
Yeah.
been with Arlen, remembers Arlen.
That dude's swinging
Yeah.
a sword and a billy club. Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
remember the Alamo or something. You might as well name his thing Alamo. At
Like,
that
ladies,
point, but
when
hey.
he asks you to stretch a little bit before your encounter, he's trying to help you out.
Yes.
I was like, okay, this is what we're doing here, which is just incredible. But no, it did. It furthered the story along. It gave you a little bit more backstory on him and why Dunk is so loyal to him. So I really enjoyed the episode. Again, still had that. I'm not sure this is a Game of Thrones show vibe to it, but as we transition into episode 3, that is about to change.
Yeah, that vibe changes pretty significantly. Tony, what do you think of the early parts of this episode with the kind of the bonding between Dunk and Egg as they continue to draw closer, and that becomes a really big aspect of what happens at the end of this episode, obviously, because of their love seems like a bit strong to say at this point, but there's an element of that going on. It's respect. It's something deeper than respect or just friendship that's happening here.
Camaraderie, right? It's kind of like a two-man team, right? You got to know you're wearing a tailor-made hat. I just spent an hour at the simulator after work today. It's kind of like a caddy and a professional golfer, right?
Mhm.
Like, your Squire has to know your golfer. Your caddy has to not just know what you can do with everything, all of your weapons, right? But when to push you, when to pick you up, when to console you, when to undermine you for the good of the team, like taking the horse out and training it. I think that was one of my favorite scenes so far in the first 3 episodes was Egg with the horse, and that was just it was excellent. And the way that ends with one of the great knights that's in town for this tournament, questioning what he's doing if he's stolen the horse, and Egg clearly is smart enough and honest and showing him what's actually going on, to which he appreciates it. I love this so much. I really do. I'm so happy that this is so good, just because of the way we've started covering Game of Thrones, and we're gonna get the House of the Dragon, folks. Don't worry, but I'm so glad we have a third iteration here to fill in the middle. Right? We talk about Star Wars all the time. What's left is not necessarily maybe to go back further than we've been or go forward farther than we have, but to fill in all the gaps. And this is really fun. This is great. Dunk and Egg, the 2 actors that are playing them, are fucking phenomenal. And whoever's directing this portrayal of their budding relationship is doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah. What happened to your hair? I don't know. What happened to your eye? And then he realizes who he is, and it's like, oh, you're that bastard. So yeah. Cool stuff right at the outset of this thing as the episode gets going, and we see that, and as we move along, the master of the list, I think his name's Plumber, and he's got an interesting offer for Dunk that really kind of that he makes that is difficult for Dunk because it is compromising his values, but. The master of games, he pitches Dunk on this. It's a fixed fight, essentially. Basically, Dunk should take part in a set-up joust because betting on the underdog would pay out big time. And Plumber wants a big payday. Dunk could profit. He could get some horses, arms, and armor.
Buy his horse back.
Buy his horse back. Dunk isn't exactly feeling this. there's not a straight up. I mean, he doesn't want to do it, but I don't think he just flat out says no. He kind of contemplates it. And it's like, well, let me know in the morning and that sort of thing. And so you
Do you
get
think
that
Dunk
get
is the
that
most
element.
honorable man in where are we? Ashford?
Ashford. I think so at this point. I haven't seen anybody more honorable. He's clearly trying to do the right thing. It's going to get the best of him in this episode, but I think at this point, Dunk is the most honorable dude there. Now you could make the argument he is that way because he doesn't know any better, but you could tell that this arrangement of a fixed jousting match just does not sit well with him. He doesn't want to do it. He does recognize the significant payoff that would be involved in this whole sort of thing. But he's really, you could tell he's conflicted by this whole thing, and it does not sit well with him on any level. So he's going to contemplate that and think about it, and I'll get back to you in the morning, sir. That sort of thing. But Tony, what did you think of this whole situation where he's offered this chance to win this fixed match, and it just, yeah, you could tell it's just conflicting with who he is on a very, you know, very basal level of who Dunk is and what he stands for and that sort of thing.
It is Ashford Meadow where the tournament's taking place. I had to double check that for myself.
Remember the Ashford chair, your favorite thing.
Oh yes, amazing. He's just like he so wants to earn this. Like he's proving something to himself, and he's honorable, and you can just tell like he's gullible, but he's honorable. But I thought I had a different take on this. What a brilliant play by the person who's running things offering this, because Dunk could have a career with this. You're an underdog unknown now, but eventually you're the big favorite because you're a big guy, you're winning all these things. You're less assuming if this guy's winning all the time, or if someone gets some crazy kind of victory at the end, you get an even big payoff to finish it, right? Like he's the perfect guy to have under your thumb just because of he'll always be a commodity, right? He'll always be that biggest night that started off an underdog, then you get him a bunch of wins. It's kind of like what Dana White did early on with a lot of different UFC fighters, keeping them away from different fighters so that they can move up the ladder. Right. But yeah, I think it's really cool. I love that he's honorable though. Like we'll see if that changes. We'll see how his character arc goes. Like this isn't a very long first season, but it's awesome. I mean, this is a game. This is a thing people come to. They've been gambling on this shit since probably before even the Roman Coliseum, right? When they had games going on there. So I don't know. I loving it. Always loving it. It's just
Deej? What are your thoughts on the fixed match proposal?
It's interesting because it does speak very much to the purity of character, and that purity of character. And I'm trying to remember if the scene, I think it came before this, was one of my favorite scenes of the episode, was the scene with the blacksmith, the armor. He was trying to buy some armor off of him, and all he wanted was the helmet, and he didn't have enough.
That's last episode.
That was last episode. Yeah, that was a great scene.
Yeah, it was a great scene, and then the guy looks at him, and at first the guy's like, "Well, it cost this. This is all I got," and he's like, "Well, this is all I have." And finally, the smith looks at him. He's like, so he concedes, understanding that this guy's not trying to rob me. He just genuinely only has so much. And I think that it's the people around Dunk see him, and it for the purity that he is, and the Booker, I'm just going to call him the Booker, is also sees how gullible he can be. Booker. But it's exactly what he is. He's a Booker.
That is exactly what he is.
Duncan is like a man, I'm trying to think of the first word to go with this, but he's an anomaly. He's like this anomaly of good behavior and morality, and it's an anomaly because it's something that isn't very common in these times, in these places, and in around these games and things of that nature. So thank you
Right.
everybody for sticking with me through that 10-second pause.
It's fun watching somebody's brain just kind of like.
I had anomaly the whole
click.
time, and I couldn't figure out the right way to
fine.
process that.
He short fused himself.
Oh
That's
God, I
right.
haven't had
That's
enough
right.
to drink. I am so sore
Yeah, you're
from
not
the
drunk
hour in the
enough. You are
simulator.
not
I
drunk
swear,
enough,
my
man.
back is killing me.
I warned you guys, if you're watching on the X app, I warned you before we started. Dave was going to guide the ship. Tunney was going to drink. I was going to pretend to know what I was talking about. And
You
here
know
we
what
are.
you're talking about.
In that order, basically. Yeah.
We don't know, but wrestling and nerd shit and Game of Thrones, we're pretty good.
So let's talk about Prince Arion, the dragon, who just quickly emerges as the biggest prick possible, with the exception of Sir Arlen and
Arlen
his actual
Arlen
big
the
prick.
baby, Arlen the hanging hammer of Pennytree. Well, that's what we'll call him from
Prince,
now on.
the hanging hammer. Arion, I mean, he just turns into an absolute monster. You've got this joust that's going on with Arion, who just basically calls out some knight that he knows he can beat. And he's toying with this knight. And, as the joust is going on, Dunk knows that his lance is way too low. And so he skewers a horse through the neck intentionally. And this had nothing to do with winning a joust. This was just him being a fucking asshole and the monster that he is. And then you get the whole situation later on where, well, I mean, we'll get to that in a minute because I kind of want to keep this chronologically so that people watching the episode will kind of be able to follow along. But this thing that he does here, he deliberately kills a horse. Somebody throws a rock, hits him basically in the face, and he pulls the helm down. We get this whole brawl that takes place. It's a damn near a riot that's going on here.
Like the people are pouring in from this is like Malice at the Palace, Dave. People are pouring in from the crowd. Yep. Security is a little late, but effective once they get there.
I saw Ron Artest somewhere.
Was Ron Artest? Who else was? Who else jumped
Ron Artest was there. I saw it.
Man, we got some four horsemen breaking Dusty Rhodes' leg. Heat going on here on this guy.
I remember the other two guys.
It's the Freebirds. It's Junkyard Dog. Dogs and cats living together. It's a fucking mess. And Dunk is trying to almost, and you could tell he doesn't believe his own bullshit, but he's trying to kind of convince Egg, well, maybe it was this and maybe it's that. And Egg's like having none of it. He's like, bullshit, that was no accident. And Dunk eventually just goes along with it and agrees and that sort of thing. So, DJ, your thoughts on this is the first moment where we get to see the dragon just really start to, for lack of a better term, shed his outer skin and show just what a monster he is underneath all of that, as he just deliberately kills his horse, sets off Malice in the Palace. Somebody's getting the Ashford chair tonight.
Malice in the Meadow. Malice
in the Meadow. Yeah.
Ashford
there
Meadow.
It is. We've established a ton of characters in the first 2.5 episodes up to this point. We've established our very, very morally good characters. We've established our morally gray characters. We've established a couple of assholes. Now we have our first real villain of the show. And I think that's important moving into the second half of the show, because up until now it's literally just Dunk trying to get into the tournament. Okay, with no real motivation other than the tournament. Now we have a tension. He saw the spear pointed low. He knew the joust pointed low. He knew what was coming. He saw it, tried to talk himself out of it, finally conceded, no, that's what it was. So now you've got this tension brewing between this very, very morally good character and this absolutely morally horrible character. And as we transition into the latter third of this episode, that's just going to really, really come to fruition.
Yeah, that's a great point, Mayor. You hit it on the head. We have the emergence of the true villain in this series, and it happens here in episode 3. And I mean, it's great as the episode goes along. You get to see him in his villainous guise at this point, and he's gonna like triple down on that by the time we're done with this fucking episode. So, Tony, your thoughts on Arion really emerging pretty dramatically as, like DJ says, this is the villain. If there's any question, and there shouldn't have really been a question, but if there was any lingering doubt, this eliminated it. This is like, in a soccer game where a team goes from 2 goals up to 4, and like the guys on FIFA will say, if there's any lingering doubt, that's gone now, that sort of thing. So,
A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, Season 1, Episode 3, Scene yada yada. Enter stage right, one terrible Targaryen. How about that? We needed it. We need it.
We did.
yeah.
Like, I'm expecting. I'm gonna have to look up and see who's playing this character, but I wanna.
He's very
I
good.
want to.
He's very
I want
good.
to. I want to hate.
He's got a punchable face.
I
He
want
really does.
I mean, like, I don't ever really want to hate anything, but like
Doesn't
for
he
the purpose of
kind of-
watching a character, like I want to really dislike this guy.
He is rapidly approaching Joffrey status at this point in time. Like, I'm looking at
Well,
this guy
I mean,
thinking, you're an asshole, and you
killed
almost look like Joffrey, an
mean,
older version of Joffrey.
So he killed a horse. I mean, Joffrey was pretty bad. I guess we'll get there.
I'm just saying, by the end of it, it's
Yeah,
full Joffrey.
I'm sure.
By the end of
I'm
it.
sure.
The actor's name is Finn Bennett.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to
not
say
Finn,
Finn
not
Balor.
Finn
you son of a
Balor.
bitch.
Finn
No,
Balor.
Finn Bennett. And interestingly enough,
Boy, the demon and
my
the dragon. I
girlfriend-
want to see that joust.
right? No, my girlfriend was watching it. He kind of looks like Jamie Bowers from Stranger Things, the guy that played Vecna. In the face, their facial structure is very similar. My girlfriend was watching over my shoulder, and
Where?
she asked if it was him.
Yeah, that show that you've never watched. Tony.
The show that you've
where
never
is-
watched.
Go
The
on,
similarities
DJ,
were
just-
where were the similarities?
Just in their facial structure.
Yeah, they
In the
do kind of
face.
in the face.
In the
Sorry, I had
face.
to. I had to. Shout out Rob Riggle.
So, all right. Let us move on as we keep going, because we get this part was creepy as shit. After this whole situation with the horse, as Dunk and Egg are walking through the village, right? They run into a prophet, or you just thinking, oh, it's just another one of these bullshit people. And anybody who knows what we do on Unidentified History should be like, quick, hey, don't just discount this stuff, that sort of thing. And this prophet, this fortune teller tells Dunk, you're going to be rich, but man, she gives Egg the absolute worst prophecy possible. You'll be king. You're going to die in fire and all this other kind of shit. And you start wondering, is he the Mad King? No, that's not the Mad King. But, and the look on Egg's face is just shock and dismay. It's like, why would she say that to me? And Dunk just laughs it off, because in his mind, it's just a charlatan, it's just a fortune teller. These people aren't for real. And it's beautiful because, like, Dunk's a full-on skeptic. You can tell that Egg's kind of the believer here, which does tie into our Unidentified History sort of discussions and that sort of thing. But man, that's like, wow, that got dark awfully quick. Tony, what'd you think of the prophet? I'm gonna call it the prophecy.
I like to think that maybe these prophets are better able to read people more coming into what they're getting into. So I think the prophet kind of sensed what the grandson of Egg is about to do, because the Mad King is Egg's grandson. Like, I think that's really important, folks. Like, go and look up how these people are all connected, because it's really huge. And for me, I instantly went to, the prophet got a real good look on Dunk, because that was pretty easy. But Egg is a Targaryen. Targaryens are complicated, but could still sense that within him, right, was like Anakin and Luke and still back to Star Wars again, right? Like, you can feel that down the lineage in the prophecy. So I haven't read the books like Dave, you have, right? DJ, have you read the books too?
Have not.
So Dave kind of knows where it's going. Dave kind of knows, I believe, how Egg dies, and I don't think it's by fiery death. Not that we're going to get into it in this series, I don't think.
No, I don't recall that. I don't think that's what happens, but
like, if you don't want to know this shit, folks, then wait till the season's over and
Well,
rip
we've been
everything
we've
up,
been
but,
telling
you know,
anybody who's watched the first two episodes
we're
we've done on this knows that we've already given away Egg's lineage, and
right.
it's going to be revealed by the end of this episode, and we'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, Deej, let me turn over to you. Your thoughts on the fortune teller and the prophecy, and because I will say one thing that I did notice when you look at Egg is a Targaryen, Aerion's a Targaryen. One of them's more insane than the other, clearly at this point in time. So you can see the old as the older Targaryens seem to have the insanity gene already kind of working for them, and Aerion's a beautiful example of just that sort of stuff. But go ahead, Deej. Sorry, man.
Yeah, this scene with the soothsayer kind of calls back to something that we didn't even gloss over a little bit earlier when Egg and Dunk are kind of walking when the Targaryens first come to town. Egg sees the banners and freaks out, decides he wants to go back to camp. So there's your first clue as to what's coming. Yeah. So for anybody who thinks, oh, you guys are spoiling, Egg's lineage and all that, they're sowing the seeds right there. Remember, us as the viewer, not having researched it or read the other books or just knowing what we know, as the viewer, we don't know who he is yet. So they're teasing this when the Targaryens come to town. He freaks out, and then with the fortune teller, kind of laying it out there, you're gonna burn in fire, and the whole world is going to celebrate your death. Is I think essentially what she told him.
It's harsh, man.
That's what kind of leads you to believe that the
harsh,
reading's a little misread, right? It's a slightly misread reading. It's a reading of his lineage, where his grandson is the Mad King.
Right, and that just goes with any type. If you've read anything on Nostradamus and things like that, Nostradamus's predictions were vague and accurate at the same time. Like he predicted things that would happen, but the names may have been a little off. The timeline may have been a little off. This is just fortune telling at work. And it was a good representation
better
of that.
predictor, Nostradamus or The Simpsons?
The Simpsons.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, as controversial, there's your controversial hot take of the day. Simpsons were better prognosticators than Nostradamus.
When was Nostradamus around? Like what AD are we talking here? Nostradamus. I don't even know. But
was he 1600? Was he Victorian era?
They got this thing called the internet. Yeah,
I'm checking it out, but I'm saying like 500 to 800 years from now, the Simpsons will be held in the same regard as Nostradamus.
He died. He was born.
Galileo.
Nostradamus was born December 14th, 1503. Died July 2nd, 1566. He was in the 1500s. I was close.
600. So in probably even less time than that, and probably like 2350, the Simpsons will be held in the same regard as Nostradamus and Galileo and Copernicus and the great prophets of our time.
Assuming the simulation hasn't reset by then, which it probably will. But all right, let's move on. Let's talk about this pretty interesting scene between Dunk and Raymond Fosway, who does not hold back when he's talking about Aerion and what a bastard that he is. And you also get, as these guys are drinking and hanging out, and clearly there's some friendship building between these two as well. But Fosway is letting Dunk know that about Prince Maekar, who's looking for his missing sons, and he talks about the sons who are missing, including Aegon. And the story that he tells about Aegon, and he talks about the oldest son and this one. And then you got the young one, and no one knows what happened to them, and everybody thinks that they're dead. And it's pretty obvious at this point, you start to connect the dots a little bit. I mean, and it's easy to sit there and retcon this thing and say, well, you should have paid attention to this, and this, because this backs up everything we've been saying. Egg has never been who he said he was. He's always been this Targaryen. And by the end of this episode, you'll be like, fuck, they were right. Like, well, yeah, we weren't lying to you the whole damn time, but we're not those kind of guys. But I think this is pretty cool because you get some very critical backstory at the same time that this relationship between Dunk and Raymond Fosway is developing. And Ray, Tony, you had mentioned earlier that was Dunk the only one with integrity in Ashford Village, Ashford Meadow? Raymond might have some integrity because you can tell that he's really bothered by what Aerion did, by what the dragon did. It really pissed him off. He just goes on a rant. He does not hold back. So maybe there is somebody who has that level of integrity, morality. other than Dunk and other than Egg as well. That sort of thing. And that's probably one of the I'm sure we're going to find out why Egg bailed in the next episode. I'm sure it has something to do with the fact that the Targaryens are a bunch of pricks and he's like, fuck these guys. I got to go do my own thing. But, Tony, I'll go to you first on this one. This very critical tense scene between Dunk and Fossaway where you get some very important backstory and you start to piece things together and say, hey, wait a second. 1 + 1 does usually not equal 3. Something's going on here. So go ahead. Tell me about that, buddy.
It's nice to see Dunk making some connections, to be honest with you, because he needs them.
We're going to find that out. Yeah, he's going to definitely.
And I think, they're going to need them. I think, it's interesting it's good for Dunk too to realize that maybe not everybody, maybe there are people out here like him, right, that have his point of view on what's going on. So it probably helps him more to feel less alone, and it probably give him more confidence moving forward. It's a great scene. It's a great little bonding scene. I enjoyed it. DJ, what do you think is the future for these two?
I see a budding friendship. I love the scene again, just because it's drunk guys sitting around, and as alcohol does what alcohol does, people get loose-lipped.
Fucking betcha.
Yeah, you get a little loose-lipped, and you start saying the things that you wouldn't normally say out loud. But it also kind of builds on the fact that I think it was earlier on in the episode, it may have actually been the second episode, because I watched them both back to back, when Dunk ends up in the room with the Targaryens, where he finally gets somebody to sponsor him for the tournament. It's actually one of the Targaryens.
Yeah.
You don't know it's Egg's father, but Egg's father is in there, and he's pissed that his sons are missing. So you've already gathered, okay, he's a jerk. He really does not care about his sons. He's just mad because they're missing.
And Dunk insinuates that they might be dead, and he's like, "The fuck did you say?"
Yeah, that was one of the better scenes from episode 2.
Yeah. Like I said, it's all one long episode for me because I watched them back to back yesterday morning.
Yeah. It all ties together. It's a great callback.
It's very well woven. It really is.
Yeah, let's get to the flashpoint where all this stuff comes to a crashing, massive head.
Who killed JR?
Yeah, as Dunk is drinking with Fossaway and getting all this critical backstory, Egg is hanging out at the puppet show, where Tancel is there and she's fighting the dragon, and Aerion comes in and watches this show. And you can tell just by the shitty look on his fucking face that this is not going to go well. He certainly does not appreciate Tancel slaying the puppet dragon, because he thinks dragons are invulnerable and invincible. And it's like, bro, you're a Targaryen, and this happens after House of the Dragon, so you should know that that's complete bullshit.
Yeah, there are no dragons, buddy.
There are no dragons, pal. So you should know better than this. But anyway, at this point, they cut away. Egg runs into the tent with Fossaway and Dunk, and he says, "You got to come and help her. He's hurting her." Dunk goes back to the tent, sees Aerion attacking Tancel. He snaps her, breaks her finger in a horribly brutal, vicious manner. Dunk snaps seeing this, because Dunk is smitten. We've talked about that. He's smitten with Tancel. He's in love and all that kind of stuff. And as soon as he sees this, man, he just snaps and he beats the holy shit out of Aerion. Throws him off the stage, kicks him in the face. All the guards come in. They grab Dunk. Aerion is basically like, "Why would you throw your life away on this whore?" And, "Oh, you loosened one of my teeth, so now I have to break all of yours." So they're going to kill him, and you're not going to survive what they're going to do to him. They got his mouth open, putting him on the stage. They're going to bash his fucking skull in. And Egg comes forward, reveals himself, orders these two guys who are holding him, "You better
by
stand
name.
the fuck down."
By name.
That's right. He lists them by name. And he says, "You motherfuckers stand down, or you will answer to my father." And at this point, Aerion notices his brother, and, "What the hell have you done to your hair?" And he goes, "I didn't want to look like you."
Yeah, great line.
And that's where, he reveals I don't know if he says it by name, but it's evident that he's Prince Aegon Targaryen, one of Maekar's missing sons. and that is how the episode ends with Dunk
Well,
or with
cut
Egg
to
revealing himself. Go ahead.
and cut. No, no, I'm sorry. You're probably getting there. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead. Jump
And
in.
and end the episode. Cut to a shocked Dunk.
Yeah.
Like the look on his face. That was like that lasted. That's the lasting image for this episode for me.
Yeah, Dunk's in there processing what has just happened, realizing that, and like you said, when he calls these guards off by name, everything changes, and Dunk's like, "What the
Powerful.
shit?" Yeah, very powerful. You've got the two brothers who are clearly involved in a showdown at this point. But Deej, let me go to you first. This whole where this series shifts in tone and tenor, and everything about the series shifts in 5 minutes. And it goes like what we're saying. This is lighthearted. This is fun. To shit. This is Game of Thrones, and this is Westeros. And it happens like that. And it's a beautiful thing to watch as it goes on. It's like, God damn, they really just flipped the switch and changed everything immediately. So go ahead, Deej.
They did. It turned on a dime, and it was literally just like that, just like you described. They flipped a switch, and the whole tone of the show changed. And now, as you said earlier on in this episode, we are now in Westeros. That's it. They have established where this is and what it is, and it was incredibly well acted, incredibly well written. The actor that plays Dunk is just so good. His emotions, you felt his shock in that scene, because it's shock not only what this kid's been lying to me this whole time. I've been unintentionally harboring this guy's missing kid. Like, there's a whole lot to unpack right here, now. And it's all written on his face. One, what does this mean for me? Because I've been hiding this guy, unintentionally hiding this guy's missing kid, and this guy just sponsored me. So, what does this mean for me going into the tournament? What does this mean for me? Are they going to, there's just so much. I'm so looking forward to episode 4 this weekend.
Friday. It's coming out early.
Oh, that's right, Friday because of the Super game.
That's right.
The
big
Super
game. We'll
so.
call it the Super Bowl. NFL, come at me, bro. You want to sue me? That's fine. Look, and yeah, I mean, it also, like, when this is all revealed, the other weird thing about this that isn't talked about yet, but you got to factor, is that Dunk now goes from being just some lowly hedge knight with just one backer scrounging for his sigil and all this stuff to now he's got the fucking prince, who is his primary backer, who still wants to be a squire, but it alters the dynamics of everything. This fixed match that they're talking about, well, you can't do that now anymore, because that's out the window. That's right, that's out the window. Now the money, and as we noticed from the preview for episode 4, Arion is going to challenge Dunk to an entirely different sort of contest. And Dunk's got to go out and find, he couldn't find one person to vouch for him. Now he's got to go and find 6 dudes to die for him. Fucking good luck with that. So, Tunney, go ahead, man. I didn't mean to jump ahead there, but I think it's important in the grand scheme of what's coming. And like episode 4, as we come into the back half of the season, it's like, wait, you could barely find anybody to vouch for you. Now you got to find people who will fight and potentially die for you. 6 of them? Have fun.
It's interesting because there's 2 things on my mind. How quickly does Dunk get over this? Because their relationship, he could just be like, it's all fake, right? Or whatever.
Based on a lie.
Right. That's rough. And 2, who says that Egg has access to anything? His dad's not very happy with him. So who's saying that he still doesn't have a problem with, resources? So I'm interested to see the way those 2 things go. I think the least of their problems is finding 6 people to join him once they know, like, this is going to spread like wildfire, right? This is like the 7th grade news network, but it got spilled in 3rd period, and by the time you get to lunch, everybody knows. So I can't wait, like DJ said. Wow, Friday night, huh? All right. Maybe we'll see everybody this weekend.
Yeah, maybe we probably will. In between my other stuff I got going on, but we'll figure out.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
And we got
Deej, your thoughts on this? I mean, Tunney may be right in the fact that, the whole notion of Arion, I'm sure, has made a lot of enemies, like Raymond Fossaway and that sort of thing. So the idea that, people may not want to fight for Dunk quite yet, but they probably will fight for Aegon, and and sit there and say, okay, we've got this brother versus brother showdown for the control of the Targaryen throne. And these two sons battling it out with each other. I don't know shit about this Hedge Knight, but I do know who this is, and if I've got to throw my lot in with one brother or the other, sure, I'll step in the ring with you, not a problem. Maybe that's a big factor that we haven't considered.
Well, think about all the uproar from the crowd too. There's a lot of people that hate this dude.
Oh, yeah. And that was exactly the point I was going to go. Is like it's not necessary. We're not going to fight with you because we like or love or have any particular whatever for you, but we hate the fuck out of this guy. Right. So yeah, let's go to war over this. Like the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Exactly.
Well, you see it. I mean, we equate a lot of stuff to wrestling and everything. It's like, oh, you want to go beat up that person, and we're not even friends. Say less. Here we go. Right? You see that all the time.
Yeah, and I think like Tunney and I, we talked about it on the last episode, how Tansel was going to be a problem for Dunk because of his feelings and his affection for her. She is the weak link. She's the Achilles heel.
You called it.
I know I did. I called it, I hate being right sometimes, but it is the weak point. It is the exposed part of that he can't protect. It's like, yeah. But it is a big problem because his affection for her gets the best of him. When you strike a prince, if Egg doesn't stand up there, this show ends after 3 episodes. But the big thing was that Egg did step forward. It creates all this drama and all this sort of thing. But Tansel, and as far as when the going gets rough, if things start to go south for Arion, all he's got to do is basically use her as leverage. And what happens then? So that's a big problem moving forward for Dunk and not so much for Egg, but I do agree with one thing you said a little while ago that, these two guys who had developed this closeness, there's been a betrayal here. And how does Dunk process that? And how does he get over that? Does he get over that? Or do they develop a different sort of relationship, one not based on father-son or brothers, but on something different? And that, of course, will be a big question moving into episode 4 and beyond. But the big thing right off the bat is this challenge that Arion throws down to him in the coming scenes or the coming attractions for the next episode. Who does Dunk get to fight for him? And what sort of fight are we talking about here? Because now it's almost like at this point, like the tournament almost becomes a side issue, right? There's a much bigger fight that's happening here. Yeah, sure, the Ashford tournament, fine, whatever. But now we got this big challenge that Arion throws down. And it's like, ooh, okay, the stakes are much higher here. Everything's much bigger here because you've got Targaryen sons fighting with each other. How does all that play out? So either of you guys jump on in there, man.
Real quick, I looked up the length of each episode. So the first episode was 42 minutes. The second episode was 33. The last one was 31. And I have the times for the next 3 episodes. So the pacing isn't going to change. It's 34, 37, and the final episode's 31 minutes. So I would imagine we're building to this battle. I would imagine the last episode is like 25 minutes of battle and then 5 minutes to let you know what the problem is for next season. Because, folks, if you think that this is going to end, if you think this 6-episode season is going to end without setting up next season in a fantastic fashion,
yeah,
you got to be kidding yourself, because the second season was approved before the first episode ever fucking dropped.
They knew.
They knew. That's why I'm so damn
they
excited.
Saw this and went, okay, yeah.
This wasn't pitched to them as a 6th episode. This was pitched to them as 6 plus the second season, and likely whatever the third. I think it's probably 3 or 4 seasons, probably 3. I don't know.
I think they're only going to do 2.
They're only doing 2.
So far, I mean, they could maybe change that, but it was 2 graphic novels, and so
Okay.
Yeah, you could slip it in. I mean, if you wanted to stretch season 2 to 7 episodes, you could probably get away with that. But everything I heard was just 2 seasons. But cards subject
Boom,
to
boom.
change, right? We
Yeah.
always say cards subject to change.
Hey, listen, they're batting 1,000 right now for me, DJ. So
Yeah, me too. If they gave me 3 or 4 seasons of this, as long as the story doesn't feel like some convoluted, dragged out mess, I am a little. Dave, you read the book, so you tell me I was a little shocked that they did the reveal in the third episode. I really thought that would be a thing that they waited until either the penultimate or the season finale to do was reveal who Egg actually was. That was for me the most shocking part. And like I said, coming from my perspective, never having read the novella or the graphic novel, is that something they did early on in the book?
Um, Fairly early on. I mean, it probably would have been a little bit later if they had stretched this to like if it's like an 8 episode season. It probably would
Yeah.
have waited till like. But I think if you're really looking at it, saying, well, at the halfway point of the season, that's the place to do it, regardless. So it makes
Okay.
sense that we're at the end of episode 3. Let's do it now because it does. Egg's role as a Targaryen is critical to where we go from here. So it is difficult to build to that without really getting into the fact that, well, his lineage is what's going to enable some of this stuff to happen.
Okay.
And
That makes sense.
so and I think that's kind of where they made the decision. Let's do it now. And then we've got the last back half of the season to develop all these extra storylines and story arcs and things that we want to do to set the stage for season 2. Because yeah, I agree with Tunney. You know, where depending on where they make the cutoff, at what point
Yeah.
do they decide we're cutting it off here, as to how much of the second book is really just dedicated to season 2. Does any of season 1 bleed over into season 2? Probably not. I would hope that they kind of like set the stage up a little bit for season 2, but kind of have this resolved. But go ahead, man.
No, I was just going to say, Tony was mentioning how the episodes are, 34 minutes, 32 minutes, 31 minutes, but there's so much going on. I'm just blown away by how well written it is without
Yeah.
feeling rushed. Like I know I just said that, they did the reveal in the third episode, but so far nothing has really felt rushed. It's just been excellent use of the little time that they have to tell the story.
There's no wasted space. They're not wasting
No,
time.
none.
There's no dead air. It's just like
None.
boom,
like
boom, boom, boom. Every moment has meaning and purpose and gravitas to it. So I love the fact that they're doing all that stuff.
it's like a Jake Roberts season.
Yeah.
Jake Roberts, the
Yeah,
Jake the Snake Roberts.
everything Jake the Snake did meant something. There was no wasted motions with him in
Yep.
the ring.
Okay.
I got the reference.
Yeah,
I
Dave,
did-
you
I
think
did-
you've been podcasting about wrestling for 11 fucking years?
I was like, yeah, I guess I see what you're saying. As long as you're not going to start quoting Longfellow, but that sort of thing, Tony. Horatio, I knew him well.
Yeah,
I knew him
I got
well.
nothing.
All right. Before we cut out of here, let me go to you first, Tony. What's the biggest thing you're looking forward to or looking towards in episode 4? Like the biggest question you want answered in episode 4?
Immediately, we need to resolve the obvious elephant in the room between Dunk and Egg. That's first and foremost. Nothing else happens in this story, I would imagine, until that happens. So I don't know if they're going to show the dispersal of whatever happens here and just cut to the scenarios they're left in because of what happened. But I really am looking, because obviously there's a relationship going forward. I would feel like the prophecy would be that Duncan someday would be, Egg's main Kingsguard. So, yeah, that's I want to see the friendship back to. How do you get that back to the where they were going? It was like you started out with it in this episode. It's a very good budding relationship, and this doesn't help that.
No. To steal from Metallica, nothing else matters until you get this situation resolved. DJ, what's the biggest question you're looking forward to having resolved in episode 4?
I want to know why Egg ran away from his family. I want to
Well,
know
they're
how we got
Targaryens.
there. Well,
Did
obviously
did
that,
you
but there has
did
to
you
be
not
a.
did you not meet his dad in episode 2?
His dad's a dick, but I have to feel like there was a singular catalyst for this kid to say, you know what, I've had enough of these people. I'm out of here.
Well,
And
his
that's what
dad, his brother.
yeah.
His dad's a dick, but Arlen had the dick. So I think, on
Wow.
that point, that's as good a place to end as we're
Wow.
going to get here. So
Wow.
I know the baby's arm, exactly, holding the apple. Look, guys, great stuff so far. We are at the halfway point of this first season of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. 3 more episodes to go. As we mentioned earlier, for those of you watching live or listening after the fact, the next episode airs early this week on Friday. I'm sure, like Tony is saying, nobody wants to compete with the Seahawks and the New England Patriots on Sunday night. Very smart on the part of HBO Max, which of course means that we're going to have to wait 9 days for episode 5, which sucks, but whatever. It is what it is.
I feel like, we get together, we find some time this weekend to get together and talk about it, and then we got almost 2 weeks off.
I know. God. How about that? Paid vacation. Well, not paid, but anyway. All right, guys. That is good.
I'll send you $1.
Send me $1. Awesome. Venmo me $1. It's like that scene in Trading Places.
Even
Places.
Worse.
Like
no, even
Trading
worse.
Places.
Even worse if I send it to you on PayPal.
Yeah. And I'll get a fee for it. I'll get a fee for it. Yeah, exactly. How much was
even
the
though
bet?
Venmo,
$1.
Even though they're the same company now.
That's true. Before we cut out of here, PC Tony, let people know where can they check you out on all the social media platforms and the chair shot and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, follow me at PC Tony on almost every platform. But if you want to get a hold of me, X is where it's at. DM me or tell me to follow you, and I'll DM you back. TheChairShot.com, ProWrestlingTees.com/TheChairShot, and right here, AttitudeOfAggression.com. Dave's done some phenomenal work with that website. It's so awesome. He's got some really nice pages to explain exactly what our process is and what we want to accomplish in covering these different things and why we cover them and why we're so passionate about them. So I think DJ and I are both really thrilled that we get to work with Dave so much because he does a great job and setting up, you guys should see the rundown for unidentified histories. They're fucking amazing. A lot of that shit is on attitudeofaggression.com as well. So if whatever you're into, if you're listening to what we're doing on attitudeofaggression.com, Dave does a great job of helping you feel like you're there right with us every step of the way.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm glad I've got this stuff to guide me along, to remind me what the hell was I think. Oh, that's what I was thinking. It does help. You'd almost think I was on shipwrocked, drunk off my ass. But
and speaking of that too, I got to do it. I'm sure he'll do it too. But 30 mindless minutes. It's all over Chairshot Radio Network. We're loving that. I hope you guys are too. So DJ's doing a great job with bringing just another different idea and covering some really cool, outside of the box and everyday things as well. Go back and listen to the episodes. They're evergreen. It's fun stuff to listen to.
DJ, you are the man, the myth, the legend behind 30 Mindless Minutes and other stuff as well. Why don't you let people know where can they check you out and all the stuff you've got going on, man?
Well, you can catch myself, Rob, and Jason on the Mindless Wrestling Podcast. We air usually every weekend, usually on Saturday, unless I get the episode to Tony late. I also do the 30 Mindless Minutes. I do appreciate you guys putting that over. You can find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at The Mindless Pod. Also, the Mindless Wrestling Podcast does have a YouTube channel. I have been very, very lax in posting things there. I hope to get that up and running in the future. You can look that up. That is the Mindless Wrestling Podcast.
Yep. And as for me, you can check me out on X, is where I lurk more often than not. Yeah, you can check that out too. I'm not. I don't call me Arlen. That's for damn sure. But you can check me out on X
at
Attitude
Penny Tree.
Call me Penny Tree at Attitude Ag. That is at Attitude AGG. Tony mentioned the website attitudeofaggression.com, which has the episodes. It's got the historical analysis on the unidentified history stuff. It's got, just whatever you're looking for there. And of course, the YouTube channel, the Attitude of Aggression YouTube channel, which has become quite active lately. And we've got a lot of stuff going on over there. So make sure you check all that stuff out. As Tony mentioned, we will come in. We will try and figure out a way to get the review of episode 4 out probably this weekend. I've got the UAP summit that I will be attending. That is going to occupy quite a bit of my time this weekend, but it's all right. We will find a way to get all this stuff done. But until next time, that's going to do it for this edition of Game Gone Wrong. Not going wrong so far. This series has been very good. No complaints going on, and it's just getting better as we go along. But that's going to do it for me, for PC Tunney, DJ. You guys have a great evening. What is today? Wednesday. Have a great Wednesday evening. We will talk to you guys soon. Everybody, exactly. Summerfest. Go to it. Tunney will even let you stay. We might even get you a room at DP's Thunderdome.
Yeah, you can stay at Dan's house. I'm not
at Dan's house.
I'm not gonna tell you where.
He'll wash your car.
I live in the bat cave. Don't fucking.
He will wash your car shirtless if you're lucky. That's, you know.
Jorts.
Jorts.
High cut jorts.